Ladies and gentlemen, I am the American SpyFox. I wasn't going to do this, but I really want to share my experience from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with you. I'm just going to go through all the pictures I took real quick, give a little bit of history on each band or musician that we come across, because I think a lot more people, especially today, since rock isn't that popular, we need to preserve the history, we need to share the history. You know, a lot of people know what they like and they listen to the bands they like, but they don't really know where did it start, where does it come from. So we're going to go through everything from Chuck Berry to Dolly Parton to Mudhoney to Fear. You know, we're going to hit a lot of bands, and I'm just going to give a very brief, short description of each picture we come across. Hope you enjoy. First off, let me go ahead and apologize. I did not get any of the Beatles stuff. I meant to. Even my patron, Adrian, who was there with me, she spent like 2-3 hours just on the level with the Beatles. I'm sorry if you're a Beatles fan. I was so interested in everything else that I forgot to hit the floor with the Beatles. Big regret. Where we are going to take off is not where I would take off if I was saying let's go back to the beginning. However, it's where sort of the museum takes off, and that is Elvis Presley. So we begin our quick tour in the Elvis section. There was plenty of stuff on Elvis. Not a huge fan, but I know some of you are. Here is one of his iconic outfits. He had many outfits. They've got one of them when he was younger, a little leaner Elvis, not fat Elvis. We've got his motorcycle, which, if you don't know, I'm big into motorcycles. I've never owned a Harley. You know, I've mainly owned Kawasaki's, Hondas, stuff like that, but hoping to get a Triumph someday, or maybe even an old Indian. Here's an acoustic guitar of Elvis's, and you can see must have really had an ego, must have really believed he was the king, because he's got a little crown on his acoustic guitar. And then the reason why I took this picture is I thought it was cool they left the Memphis, Tennessee tag on it. As we all know, he had his property, what did he call it? Graceland, I believe. And we come over back to the guitar. We've got a nice little Elvis on tour poster framed, and there's some, you know, just random items. Like I said, I'm not a huge Elvis fan. Chuck Berry. This is like something I'm really into recently. Chuck Berry was the man, dude. Check out that cheetah print. Cheetah print top. I don't know what you would call it. Tank top that Chuck Berry would wear. And poor camera. Got his little Fender stack there. More importantly, I wanted to show the red guitar, the Johnny B. Good guitar. That's what I was really interested in. They have a few random flyers, and then, of course, the iconic picture in the middle here of Chuck Berry strutting like a rooster. Wait, what? Chuck Berry was the first inductee to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, inductee Songwriters Hall of Fame, first inductee to the St. Louis, is it St. Louis or St. Louis? You guys in Missouri, let me know. Walk of Fame, legendary monthly concert series. Yeah, that dude was wild, man, and he could play the guitar like nobody's business. Oh, here we have, this is a plaque. W.S. Holland was actually Johnny Cash's drummer. He played this Gretsch kit for you drummers out there. And one thing I noticed about this drum set that I've never seen on any other drum set, the outer bass drum head is leather and it unzips. I don't know why, or like does it unzip to put a mic to mic it? Does it unzip to put a pillow in it? Like, what is the point? I've never seen any other drum set with a leather head and a zipper. One other cool thing about this drum set, it was the first full kit to be used at the Grand Ole Opry, because, you know, back then, bluegrass and country, they mainly just used like a snare and a hi-hat, right? And this guy actually used toms. So it was the first full kit to be introduced to the Grand Ole Opry. Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, there's Cash's outfit and his acoustic guitar. I think we're going to get some better close-ups here in a second. Ooh, Roy Orbison. If you don't know who Roy Orbison is, he played a lot of music with Tom Petty, George Harrison. He's Pretty Woman walking down the street. He's that guy. Here's his sunglasses right here, and then a very iconic guitar. Apparently a Fender. That is a wild looking. I don't know. That dude must have been wild. I mean, just look at his guitar. It's got studs on it. It's covered in leather. And of course, Cash's guitar. We've got the black boots, black outfit, a couple of his records, early records in there. Maybe perhaps this is a more clear picture. It was very dim and dark in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and everything's behind glass, so the light reflects. It's very hard to get clear pictures. I think that might be purposefully done. Rick James. I'm Rick James, bitch. You can see that he signed the guitar. He signed his Rickenbacker guitar, and as well, he wrote Funkin' Roll on it. Rick James bass guitar. The hunter gets captured by the game. The Yardbirds. I believe the Yardbirds began in the early 60s, 62, 63. There were several iterations of the band. Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck. They basically were the practice days for a lot of musicians who would go on to form bigger, better bands and become the best guitarists in the world. Now, Herman's Hermits. I have been wondering who in the world is this. You also see here in the middle the Animals. They look like they dressed up like fairy sailors or something. I don't know what they were really going for there. But I've been wondering who is Herman's Hermits since I left the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're going to do a quick Google search and find out, because that's what this is about, a learning experience for both of us. Okay, so an English pop group formed in 64 in Manchester. It looks like the Hermits charted numerous transatlantic hits in the UK and America. They were ranked as one of the most successful acts in the Beatles-led British invasion. Interesting. Reached number 1 with the singles Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter, I'm Henry VIII, I Am, Can't You Hear My Heartbeat, Silhouette's Wonderful World, A Must to Avoid, There's a Kind of Hush. So there you go, for those of you who didn't know like me. Okay, moving on. The New York Dolls. These guys, man, these guys were crazy. I was just watching some of their old videos about a month ago or so. Handsome Dick Manitoba, New York Dolls. They were, they pioneered not only punk rock, but they were kind of goth. They were kind of, they were very like Rocky Horror Picture Show-ish, I guess you would say, And one might even say that their singer sort of normalized the whole transgender thing, or he at least pioneered it, right? He tried. It's always been hotly debated who really started punk rock. Sex Pistols in UK, Velvet Underground, New York Dolls, I like to credit all of them. This is a great picture. I think I even have a little bit of video after this. Here on the right, Joey Ramone's jacket from, of course, the Ramones. And then here we have Jerry Only's, one of his many iconic outfits for the Misfits. Now, for you guitar connoisseurs out there, you guitar experts, because I'm not, ask me about drums, don't ask me about guitar. Is this a Warlock, like a custom Warlock? That's what it looks like to me. It just looks like a Warlock, or what I think is called a Warlock. Is this a custom Warlock, or is it called something else? Please let me know in the comments. Let me see if I got some video. The Damned. We've got some more Ramones outfits. The Clash, Fear, Black Flag. There it is. All of those huge punk rock bands of the late 70s to 80s. Misfits even clung on into the 90s. It's still an ongoing thing. I know that their brand has become more, the Ramones, the Misfits, Motorhead. It's become more like a brand these days, but it still makes me happy, puts a smile on my face to see young kids wearing their t-shirts. And I just have a little bit of, I guess, more footage. Apparently I was pretty enthralled with this exhibit because I took like several videos of it. Fear, Dave Grohl actually did a collaboration with the vocalist from Fear Well, he did. Dave Grohl's done collaborations with like every musician out there. And here we begin the Seattle exhibit. I really like it that up in the left top corner, they put the Melvins. Now, there were other bands that were rehearsing and making music at the same time the Melvins were, but the Melvins were the band that really showed everyone else in Washington and the Pacific Northwest, hey, you can make a living doing this. It doesn't just have to be a hobby. You can actually go somewhere. That's what the Melvins did for the grunge era. The Godfathers, the Grandpappies, that's what they are. And appropriately, we have Mudhoney, we have Mother Love Bone, Temple of the Dog, of course, the Sub Pop 200, Sub Pop 100. I believe this guitar, I think I might have a close-up here. Yes, Bruce Fairweather of Mother Love Bone. There, right here. His guitar. That is one killer guitar. Who knows who did the art for it, but very unique looking guitar. Oh, apparently I decided to take yet another picture of it. Then we have the legendary, the one and only Chris Cornell of Soundgarden, one of his Gibson. I'm assuming this is a Les Paul. Correct me if I'm wrong. Looks like it might, I don't know if that's a sticker or a little wear and tear. And then we have the Soundgarden sticker at the bottom. An old flyer for Soundgarden, Screaming Trees, and Tad at the Moore Theater in Seattle. Wow, an original flyer. The Sub Pop 200 and Sub Pop 100. This is an awesome picture. Of course, you see down bottom, we have an original set list that I'm sure Jerry or Lane would have written out for Alice in Chains. We have the Jerry Cantrell's Rock and Jock jersey, and up here it says 5th. Now, if you don't know what this refers to, there was a time, children, when rock and roll was so prevalent and so ingrained in our culture that MTV held celebrity softball games with rock stars, and Jerry Cantrell participated, I'm assuming, in the 5th annual Rock and Jock celebrity softball game. It was actually a lot of fun to watch. They would do some really goofy things. You would get to see these people that you looked up to sort of just being themselves and goofing off and having fun. And it was also interesting to see who was actually good at at baseball and who wasn't, you know. As I recall, I think Jerry was pretty damn good. Here is a picture of him from that game if you'd like to see what I'm talking about. Down bottom, I'm hoping I have a better picture. Yes, Sean Keeney's britches. Apparently, he somehow blew out the crotch and just decided to sew or glue or tape or I don't know what he did, but he fixed his problem. And then we have, of course, Sean Keeney's sticks and again, the set list. Over to the right, down at the bottom, we should have a better picture or video. Nope, I skipped to Nirvana. We'll see it here in a second. There are some dolls that were made of Alice in Chains. Nirvana condensed in utero soup. Here we go. We've got Lane. I think this one's Lane. I think this one's Sean. This one would be Mike. One of the Mikes. Their hair is so similar. You know, they kind of almost look the same. And then Jerry over here, of course. I'm not sure. Oh, that was the claymation dolls. Duh, right here, number 25, Alice in Chains claymation dolls. Had to have been for a video. There were lots of old dresses from female performers, as you can see. A lot of these old musicians had co-vocalists, sort of like duets, and they had backup singers, dancers. There's a lot of women actually celebrated in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. More than I imagined. I learned quite a bit. Some women that I didn't even know. I was like, wow, I didn't even know they were a part of this band or that band, or they wrote that song. You know, I really learned a lot about a lot of female musicians. These are just random pictures, of course. We've got AC/DC and Led Zeppelin, all the guitars. Somebody tell me, and I know I'm going to feel really stupid, is this Angus Young? Because according to the plaque, it said AC/DC, but who is that? Obviously, this guy here is Robert Plant. There was a section that had original photographs from apparently a very lucky photographer. Here we have Jimi Hendrix. This is the original female vocalist, obviously a female, she has boobs. Female vocalist to Jefferson Airplane, Grace Slick. She played a key role in that early 60s San Francisco psychedelic scene. Grace Slick was like the poster child for the psychedelic scene. And oddly, her guitarist, Jorma Kaukonen, he lives one county over from me in Meigs County. They're known for one thing, growing really good marijuana. It's called Meigs Gold. These old, just good old boy farmers way back in the woods. All of Meigs County is just nothing but forest and woods and fields. So their main way to make money and survive and take care of their families is to grow pot, much like Humboldt County in California. That's what you're going to find in Meigs County. And Jorma has a ranch in Meigs, and he still to this day, even during COVID isolation, he did a concert, a virtual concert live where people bought tickets. He puts on shows there, bands come and play there. It's called the Fur Peace Ranch. And often I used to go to this coffee shop called the Donkey Cafe or the Donkey Coffee Shop, something like that. I'd go there about every morning to get a cup of coffee on my way to work or whatever, to open up a restaurant. And Jorma would just be there hanging out, like dude from Jefferson Airplane, just hanging out at the Donkey. But yes, Grace Slick, very important figure in the psychedelic scene. If you're into any kind of psychedelic rock, you should be thanking this woman and her bandmates, and keep chasing that white rabbit. This photograph of Johnny Cash really cemented in my mind how tall this guy was, man. Like, look at his legs. And when I seen his outfit, that the whole black suit and his black boots, I was like, man, Johnny Cash was a big man, tall, lanky guy. Of course, we have Mick Jagger, Little Richard, with that pencil-etched, razor-thin mustache that he used to rock. Oh, man, you guys know who that is. Steven Tyler, Aerosmith. Chuck Berry, the original rocker. Janis Joplin. This was one of the wildest outfits I came across in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Bootsy Collins of Parliament Funkadelic. What was that? Circa 1993? Oh, wow. They actually played in my town at the university, 10 years ago or so. George Clinton came. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, check out this costume, man. That is wild. Like, who would wear that? And one thing I noticed, of course, his guitar as well. One thing I noticed about these costumes, when you see them up close, they're cheaply made. At a distance with the bright lights on and it's dark over the crowd and they got the lights on, and they make those costumes to look sparkly and shiny and fancy. But once you get up close to them, you realize they're just doing what they can to have a cool costume. Like, it's not real expensive stuff. It just looks expensive from a distance. Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine. Tom Morello wore this shirt in the music video for the band's Guerrilla Radio. In 2001, the band won the Grammy Award for Best Hard Rock Performance for Guerrilla Radio. Morello continually used his platform to address social inequalities head-on through his music and in the streets as an avid activist. Now, I thought this was a really cool shirt. I'm into uniform type shirts. I don't know why. I could go without the name tag because it's like, come on, man, you're Tom Morello. Like, we know who you are. But just the whole look of it, he's got the American flag on the side and the upside down star. I'm sure that's for something, right? And I don't know. I actually am sort of in the process of making my own sort of uniform type button-up shirts for myself. It's just something I'm into as far as fashion goes. I did get a little video of it. I think I went around to the side just to kind of show it from a different angle. Yeah, the American flag on the side. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm weird. I just like shirts like this. I have this weird thing with unique tennis shoes as well. If I and there, of course, there's Bootsy Collins again. I think I might even show some other outfits. if I could handle the camera correctly. Why is it every time some dude handles a camera, he can't handle it correctly? I don't know, man. I'm weird. I like unique things. If I had a ton of cash, I'd probably be a sneakerhead. I like collecting weird shoes. NWA. I was pretty glad that they actually got these guys an exhibit in there because they created an entire new genre, man. I mean, how many rappers have become rich because of this singular group that showed people what could be done just by spinning records? What you got to admit, what they did was pretty genius. I was a huge fan of NWA as a kid. Of course, I had a much older brother who was allowing me to listen to LL Cool J and 2 Live Crew and NWA and Young MC, you know, all those guys that I shouldn't have been listening to in 3rd grade. So I don't really get into rap and hip hop now, but when I was a kid, I liked that old school stuff. Here we have Ray Charles. As you can see, Ray Charles was not a tall guy. He was a tiny guy, but he made a lot of music. He made very loud music and very good music. Ray Charles is, look how short the legs are. Now, next to Charles, I'm pretty sure is Aretha Franklin and a couple other people. I'm sure that I got the plaques to see who. Pretty sure this was Aretha's dress. Let me see here. Designed by Valentino? Or maybe that was Aretha's dress. And then the one next to it, who's this guy? Who's this guy? That is a wild costume. And look at that bulge. They put a bulge in it. It's like a weird, like, moose knuckle bulge or something. I don't know what that is. What is it on that mannequin? Now I feel terrible because I don't know who that costume belonged to. Why didn't you read the plaque? It's been said all along. Voices of rage, hope, and empowerment. Okay, back to the bulge, back to Aretha, back to Charles. Maybe, man, now this is going to drive me nuts. I didn't take the time to see who those 2 costumes belong to. That's a sharp-looking suit. Wish I knew who it belonged to. From here, we're going to be checking out a little bit of metal. This is none other than Rob Halford, Judas Priest. We got the bass drum head, the outer drum head from Judas Priest, and his studded leather jacket. These were amazing. Alice Cooper's boots. I saw those and I was like, no man wore those, right? Like, how could you even get those on? He had to have some skinny chicken legs. We have Holy Diver. Dio is up. I should be pointing at some time. I'm not the best cameraman. Yep, Ronnie James Dio sheet music. We have the guitars. Of course, Angus Young's outfit. Not a huge Angus Young fan, but you know. Black Sabbath's guitar. Or is it Dio? We don't know. One of you guitarists out there, let us know. And then this insane jacket from Sepultura. Like, it looks like he just zip-tied plastic tubes to a leather jacket and just rocked it like that. Here is the oddest thing that I came across in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Kurt Cobain's certificate. I have no clue why it's there. Interesting though, up here was an early Nirvana demo tape, which I think 127 cassette tapes full of Kurt Cobain's recordings were retrieved by Eric Erlandson. The exact day that Kurt was found, Courtney Love sent Eric Erlandson into the house with the specific mission of retrieving all of Kurt's cassette tapes. She didn't want anybody else to get their hands on them. Wow. What a thing to think of when you just found out that your spouse is gone. Better make sure to get his recordings. They might make me some money someday. I took a picture of this just because it was amazing. A Rolling Stones pinball machine. I mean, why would you not take a picture of that? I remember this place called Souvlaki's. Me and my buddies, well, everybody used to hang out at after high school because this Greek family who owned the place didn't mind us smoking and drinking. And we'd go in there and order food and play pool. And there was a jukebox, which fell on Black Days from Soundgarden, was like always on repeat. And there was a Guns N' Roses pinball machine that all of us would take turns playing, but never seen a Rolling Stones one. Looks like we have some more Hendrix and some of his guitars. I mean, what can I say? The guy was a genius. It's really too bad he was taken from us too soon. For those of you who do not know, Jimi Hendrix demise was due to lungs full of red wine. And oddly, the coroner said there was no alcohol in his blood, but his lungs were full of red wine. Here's some of Hendrix's outfits, which were pretty flashy, especially for the time. You know, I guess you had to dress flashy to stand out from all the others. But yeah, in case you don't know what I'm trying to say, he wasn't drinking alcohol. Somebody had to have waterboarded him, right? Like, how does your lungs get full of red wine with no alcohol making it into your bloodstream? That means he perished because of the red wine. This is a soundboard that Hendrix recorded on, a 16-channel soundboard. Apparently from 1967. Over here we have Joplin. Oh, now here's something a lot of you 90 fans would think is pretty cool. The boots and the dress of Shirley Manson from Garbage, Butch Vig's vocalist. I thought that was really cool. It's like I said again, it's weird when you see these costumes because then you understand how big these people were. Shirley Manson, tiny petite woman. Of course, don't even have to say it. Dolly Parton, some of her dresses and guitar. And so one thing we noticed, I can't remember who pointed it out. Oh, by the way, saxophone, her guitar, her shoes. Like, her shoes were tiny. The dress, she's very short. The tiniest waist. I could not believe, like, she must have been wearing a corset, you know, like they did in medieval times where the chambermaid would come in and try to suffocate you and pull those strings as tight as she could, because she had the tiniest waist I've ever seen and the tiniest feet. And I can't remember exactly which lady was with me that said it, but she said, oh my God, how did she not topple over? How did she keep herself up with those tiny feet? This was bad ass. The entire get up of, I believe it was Judas Priest. I did a horrible job of, pointing the camera at the plaques to remember what belonged to who. But yeah, could you imagine? Like, they look like characters from Hellraiser, man, coming out on stage with the lights and all the shiny spikes and studs. Like, they really, really wanted to be noticed. Even spikes at the bottom, like, look at this. If you're the metal type, you gotta love that. This is the room where everyone gets their band or their name etched into granite or marble or whatever it is you can see over the years. We come to 2014. That would be the year that Nirvana was placed in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And how appropriate, right beside Kiss. If you guys remember, during the Melvins' heyday, Kurt Cobain drew a Kiss mural on the side of the Melvins touring van. And then we come, of course, up to 2016, we get NWA, Deep Purple, Steve Miller. And this was the one that I was at, the Jay-Z, Foo Fighters. Carole King, Tina Turner, let's see, LL Cool J. There was so many that year that I can't even remember. I just remember the best acts were, even though I'm not into rap, like I said, I was into hip hop as a kid, so I really enjoyed the LL Cool J performance with Eminem, and I think Jennifer Lopez came out, even though I wasn't impressed at all with her. I don't really care about her, but she is a big thing. And the Foo Fighters performance. Oh, also the Go-Go's. That was fucking fun, dude. The Go-Go's performance was awesome. They did We Got the Beat and Holiday Vacation and, all of their hits. They busted them out and they sounded just as good as when they were young. There are a few that I did not get on here. For example, I got a little section on Leadbelly. They had some Leadbelly stuff there. But this was just what I got from my phone. I have much better stuff on my camera. If you guys are interested, I can share even more from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I hope you watched. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I know I did. I learned about a lot of artists that I'd never even heard of before. And for those of you who are worried, yes, there is a Scott on Tape video. Yes, it is coming up, but next is going to be, if you've made it this far, next is going to be Nirvana Unplugged Review. That's the big video that I want to get out next. After that, we'll get to the Athens Insane Asylum and the Scott on Tape collaboration. It's a lot of work for one man to do alone, so just be patient with me, and I'm going to get those out to you. Thank you so much for coming along this little ride with me. If you haven't subscribed, we are like 20 subscribers away from 50,000. So if you haven't subscribed but you think you would watch another video, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. If you have any questions, if I said anything wrong and you want to correct me, that's totally cool. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.